Hi, Julien here from beautiful Alila Villas in Uluwatu, Bali. You know how passionate I am about living in Bali, about transforming your life from the 9-to-5 work week and the corporate life I've had in Los Angeles and London to living a truly, I think, inspirational life, at least to myself, spending more time with my family, making more time for the things that really matter to me, working less, optimizing my income. And as you know, I'm working of putting all of these things into a short book or a course so I can share this information with you. Something really outstanding has happened that really changed my life on this island in the last few days. One of the most inspirational writers I have ever met in my life, Keith Ferrazzi, is on the island. And I want to give you a quick backstory because in the 2000s, I was in New York City and I did what I always do. I go out for dinner, I talk to people, I meet people. I do it because I find it inspirational. That's how I learn, that's how I live, that's what keeps me going, that's what gets me through the day. This man actually wrote the book about it and turned that into a business concept. It was a book called Never Eat Alone. It changed my life. It turned what I thought was just my personality of going out into a business concept. And what I love about it and what I want to share with you is in this fast-changing world, and I see a lot of people very scared, confused what's happening, AI, so many changes are happening. Building a personal network is really the true life insurance I think that you have these days. And I want to welcome Keith Ferrazzi, New York Times best-selling author, 5 books right at this point, and a deep believer in remote work. And he's here with his partner on his vacation on Bali. So thank you so much for taking the time, talking to me, and also getting the message out to your audience of how amazing life can be these days, how full of optimism we should be in this amazing time. So
inspirational, and I have to say that meeting you has been impactful to me as well. I'm looking forward to talking about it. Hey tribe, I want to speak to you today from the amazing Uluwatu in Bali. And I have to say that my eyes have been opened in a way that has been truly inspirational to me, and I think potentially game-changing. This video, I believe, is going to be an inflection point in my life, just as the pandemic was. As you all know, back in 2010, I started understanding and looking forward and reading and writing and researching about the future of work in an increasingly virtual world. And then the pandemic gave us an extraordinary laboratory to look at remote and hybrid work for high-performing teams. And as you know, I created and committed to that research very significantly, and then ultimately wrote the book, Competing in the New World of Work, in addition to dozens and dozens of pieces in Harvard Business Review on the topic of living and working in an increasingly remote world. It was called What Are the New People Rules in a Virtual World? But you know what? My friend here, Julien, who is an incredible entrepreneur and an incredible, generous individual here in Bali, has awakened me to a recognition that most of us as individuals have been working remote, but not fully living and embracing the remote lifestyle. And that is something that I would like to bring to you over the next months, over the next years, and it's going to be a journey that we go on together. I've made a commitment to spending months here in Bali in 2025. I've made a commitment to do something extraordinary next December in 2023 here in Bali as well. And with that commitment comes a learning path that I'd like to bring you on with me, which is how do we function in the world that we live in today, the global world that we live in today, but at the same time be able to tap into the gems of the planet like Bali or so many other places in the world and live and lead and run major impactful global initiatives from anywhere in the world. And that's the journey we're going to be on, and that's the journey, Julien, that you and a number of others here in Bali have helped awaken me to, because you've been doing it. And I'm committed to your evangelization of that principle and coming along that journey with you. So I'm excited about this discussion we're about to have today, and I'm blessed for having met you.
Thank you. So Keith, we just met by accident almost last week, right? The true story again, a friend of mine asked me, you know, can you get this guy, he's some kind of hippie writer, you know, into one of the most busiest restaurants in Bali. And I said, of course I can do, but the only way I can get him in if I go there myself. You know, he would have never gotten in the door. And we had an incredible dinner together. We shared so much. And again, it brings me back to something you wrote about in 2005, the book Never Eat Alone, because you have, I think, sooner than anyone else that I've read about, turned the concept of the importance of networking, the importance of having friends, of meeting people that you enjoy something with. You have turned that into a massive business and lifestyle concept, I think the first time I've read it. So how do you think your concept of community has changed since you have written the book? Has it gone more mainstream? Has it changed? How has it changed for you? How important has it got?
Yeah. Well, if you go back to 2005 when the book came out, what I tried to do in that book is to transform the principle of networking from this slightly usury, even a bit of a dirty word at the time, and turn it into something that was authentic and generous and loving and open, where it was mutual. It was about building deep relationships in a mutual fashion that are deeply generous. And I think I've successfully made that pivot. The book has sold all over the world, dozens of languages, and I can go anywhere in the world today and find people whose lives have been changed and awakened to the recognition that they could build authentic but purposeful, deep relationships. And I say purposeful. Look, I came to Bali and I had a choice. I could let serendipity be the full guide of how the entire experience went, and that's fine. On the other hand, in advance, I identified critical individuals and I asked them if they wouldn't mind introducing me to connectors. And by virtue of having in advance connected with the connectors, it's a chapter in my first book, Never Eat Alone, I was able to meet people like you and others who opened up an entire world, a culture, a subculture underneath that no vacationing guest in this community would have ever tapped into, right? To the point where it's been fundamentally impactful to me and life-changing, which I can get into more. You spin ahead, 20 years, and the tools that we have available to us today relative to communication tools, hybrid work tools, and the great laboratory of the pandemic, where we were all working remotely. What happens today is that your network is unbounded in the world. You can literally connect and go deep with people on a global basis, anywhere in the world, with the lessons that we've learned, which I'd like to bring some of them to the people watching today.
Yeah. It really was an example to watch Keith here from day one. I think we almost met, first people when you arrived on the island, is how you embrace the lifestyle, how you're open to new experiences. Yeah. I mean, you're a man in your 50s. I mean, you look amazing, not just for your age, but what drives you to be so open with people? And I said, you're really connecting. It's not, I said, this old sense of networking, you can feel it, you're really connecting with people. And that, at least in my experience leaving the US, is something I think we have all been lacking. When I was working in the executive world, building startups, raising big money, I was surrounded by only people I was having transactional relationships with. You're taking this personal relationship level to a new level.
I think there's two things. One is, I'm an introvert. Now, nobody would know that by watching me, but by being an introvert, first of all, it allowed me to write the book Never Eat Alone because I was very intentional and conscious of what I needed to do to build relationships. And the reason I needed to build relationships is I was brought up very poor. And if I hadn't built those relationships, I would stay in poverty. Poverty is the lack, not of capital, not of money, but it's the lack of relationships and opportunity. So I knew I needed to build their own. And if you're an introvert trying to do that, you have to get very methodological. You have to be very clear because it doesn't come naturally to you, right? So, but also as an introvert, I don't like fake. I can't be one of these bon vivant people that show up, shake hands, slap backs, etc. It's just not me. Yeah. Like the fact that you showed up to dinner and we could have an intimate dialogue and we talked about your love experiences. We talked about some of the struggles that you had, and some of the struggles you've had. And that to me, what showed up was an intimate, loving, caring person. And I was able to relax into that relationship. And by the way, you're a super connector. And by the way, you were able to connect me to other great individuals that would help me transform perhaps my life here in Bali going forward, right? Now, that's what was most important, which was the ability to be both purposeful and authentic. Those two things combined is what we want to offer people most of all. And then the other thing is that when I showed up here in Bali, it's okay to have both an agenda and an open heart. You don't have to have one or the other. You don't have to just show up with an agenda, transactional networking, and close off your open heart. That's what you were talking about. You were in New York. The flip side of that is if you just show up with an open heart and serendipity, you'll miss all of the beautiful opportunity to what I call co-elevate. What you and I are about to do with your book and your methodology and some of the intellectual property I'll bring to the table is a co-elevation, right? We care about each other, we care about each other's missions, and we're gonna achieve those missions together, co-elevate, go higher together. And that's what I want people to tap into.
You're obviously still, you spend a lot of time in the US, you have a big following. When we now look at remote work, when I look back now at my life in the US, when I look at my friends my age, and it almost feels like they live inside a cult. The cult has replaced human connections and experience with simply trying to make money. And if you do live in Silicon Valley like I used to before, you need a lot of money to at least have some kind of level of comfort. What do you think, after all these changes we've gone through, what are people afraid of right now to really embrace the opportunities of remote living, remote working, and this massive transformation we're going through?
Look, I'm a perfect example. The entire time during the pandemic, I dug in deep. I did $5 million worth of research to create the world's most comprehensive look at what does work look like coming out of the pandemic. The book was called Competing in the New World of Work, published by Harvard Business School Press. And yet I never left my desk in Los Angeles. Right? So I did it all from there. My fear was really quite rudimentary. It was a fear of time zones, number one. Number two, it was a fear of literally the technological equipment. I mean, I was just fearful that if I showed up here, that I wouldn't be able to replicate the systems and the infrastructure that I had that allowed me to be, and again, it was the time zone shifting. Now, one of the things that's most important that I want to bring to our research and to your viewers is that one of the great myths of work is that meetings and collaboration are the same thing. That the ability to collaborate is your ability to be with a group of individuals at the same time, synchronous meetings. However, what we found during the pandemic and in our research is that no more than 30% of your collaboration should be in meeting fashion, in synchronous meetings at the same time. In fact, one of the most powerful and under-tapped mechanisms of collaboration is asynchronous collaboration. Asynchronous collaboration is when you're working together on a document. And there's multiple fashions of asynchronous collaboration. You could be using a Google Doc, you could be using a Google Sheet, and I can explain the differences between the two of those. But the ability to collaborate when you're not in a meeting together asynchronously, so you're working on the document in your time zone at your comfort, and then you pass it on to another individual and they're working on the document, and you're collaborating in the ether in between those time zones. Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely.
Now, what's interesting about that is if the average team has a meeting of 12 people, only 4 people think they're heard. If you ask the question, like, what are the greatest limitations to our strategy in 2023? And you ask that question asynchronously, and you let people sit in their own time zones and answer that question, everybody will feel fully heard. Do you understand the distinction? So that the shifting of synchronous collaboration to asynchronous collaboration benefits remote time zone work, but it's irrelevant to remote time zone work. It actually benefits collaboration. You get more psychological safety. People will speak more candidly than they would in a room of people. They'll speak more candidly into a document, and they speak more thoroughly. So just recognizing that shifting from meeting-based to synchronous, this is probably one of the big things. It's like, how in the world will I collaborate with my team when they're not with me? So that would be one of the questions I have for you is, as a team leader, you're running companies. How do you run meetings and how do you run collaboration? What have you learned about asynchronous time zone shifting?
I think this is one of the biggest changes. For me, it's become so natural. This is why it's so great to talk to you, because for me, I had to learn this traveling a lot, building a fast-growing company as I was working in 16 countries simultaneously. So we had project on the ground I built power systems.
Yeah.
I get the waste to energy systems, very cool, deep tech R&D. I always had different teams that were all over the globe, so I had to learn over the last 20 years how to manage those teams remotely. And the way how I did is, first of all, I'm not a micromanager. If you try to micromanage this process, you're already dead, you've already lost. You simply can't. And this process you're just describing, let's say I do hold a meeting to kick off the project. I have a tendency, I'm not the greatest communicator like you. When there's a meeting, there are 4 people feel heard, it's probably just me talking, right? So that's one of my weaknesses, but it's okay for an opening meeting. Immediately after the opening meeting, there's an agenda, and everybody now has to fulfill their certain steps in the process. And what it does is anybody can do it wherever they are. I don't care if they sit on the beach, I don't care if they do it in their bathtub, I don't care if they do it in the morning, they do it in the evening. I only care that they get their part done.
Yeah.
And it changes everything, because you're suddenly not just hearing the loudest, bolsterous performer. You judge people simply by their content and how much they produce. And you're going to see that a lot of people that are very, very good and they feel very strong in this open office environment, you see them at the coffee maker, you're very engaged, might not be the people that really contribute to the process. So it makes you focus, it makes it blindly obvious who contributes and who doesn't. And then I set meetings again and again, and simply people who don't contribute, you will know, because there's nothing left in the track record of doing that project.
So let me, if you don't mind me doing some real-time coaching, not from the perspective of being somebody like yourself who's an expert doing it, but I've been researching this since 2010. What I might recommend is 2 things. The first is that when you kick off a project, don't have a meeting. You should do what you would have done anyway in that project. Shoot a video. Shoot a video of yourself. Don't make everybody show up in their awkward time zones and listen to you when one of them might be at 8 o'clock in the evening and the other one might be at 6 in the morning, right? So shoot a video. Kick off the meeting that way. Then at the end of that, what I would like you to do is I would like you to have a few critical questions that you would want to ask. For instance, let's say that the project that you're kicking off is a new product line that you're considering. Hey, I have a great new idea. Here's a new product line. We're going to go do this. We're going to crush it, etc. And you have this whole discussion. Then at the very end of it, I want you to take out a Google sheet, and I want you to have questions at the top. And then down the left, the people's names who are being invited into the room. And the questions at the top are up to you. One question might be, where is my thinking missing something? Right. Another one could be, what risks do you see that I don't see? Another one, whatever it is, right? Be provocative in your questions. Then down there, you put the people's names down. And you even offer them to say, if you'd like to send this along to anybody and put their name down, feel free. And you're right, what you now see is people will consume that video, and then they'll all be putting their answers in. Now, what you want to do is you want to give people 2 cycles. One is put your answers in, and then you say, everybody's answers in. Now go in and read everybody's answers and comment on those answers. Right? So that process will significantly shift the inclusion and the innovation and the transparency from that original kickoff meeting that you're talking about. And again, you're staying asynchronous. Go ahead.
I just, the one point that I have now, I've been doing this for years. And I think a lot of companies have made the experience, people go into remote work, they're very their productivity goes up in the first few weeks. Everybody gets excited, they don't no more commute, they sleep longer, they suddenly, appreciate their life again, their relationships start to improve. Not having to go to an office really is a life-changing experience for many people, and that's why so many people don't want to go back. At least in my experience of doing this for the last 10 years, and then You know, I've not seen my CTO in person in 3.5 years. I mean, this is how long we don't see each other. We don't have to. But having still those little moments of personal connections where you are, even if it's via Zoom, in the same room, the longer you're apart, become more and more important, because people start to lose kind of like your inner core. It's not so much about the project, it's checking in, are we still aligned on a vision?
It's the trust, it's the esprit de corps.
Do I still care?
Connection.
I mean, it's still, I think we as leaders, we need to make sure that the people that work with us on achieving great things, that they have a sense of belonging, they do care. And when people just do this extreme shift from one day, you see each other every single day in the office, in the parking lot, to never see each other again.
So I think it's important.
Very forgotten.
What's important to punctuate what you're talking about there is that in our research, everybody felt that during the pandemic, the bonding, the connection, the loyalty, the esprit de corps decreased. And it was true for teams that didn't replace it with more intimate virtual check-ins. To your point, if you move from a physical environment into a remote environment and you don't pause and have those deep, intimate connections with people, how are you feeling, right? What are you worried about? I call something a sweet and sour. What's going on in your life, sweet and sour, personally and professionally? Those intimate check-ins actually, interestingly enough, raise the intimacy and the loyalty and the bonding of a team before pandemic rates. So before the pandemic, the average relationship score of a group of people was 2.4 on a scale of 0 to 5. Now, after the pandemic, it went down. If you didn't do things purposefully to rejuvenate relationship, if you did things purposefully, it went up. Because when you were bouncing around in the car park or at the in the coffee room, you weren't going this deep. Only accidentally did you go to this deep. Oh, you don't look good today. What's going on? So the ability to do it purposefully is actually transformative and makes it even better. Now, the one thing I would suggest, most world-class companies who have gone fully remote they actually spend 1 to 2 weeks a quarter physically together. And they engineer, I call it the collaborative stack. What you do remotely, what you do asynchronously, what you do physically, all need to be engineered. So I would recommend that you spend the money periodically to pull people together, but don't just do the same damn thing you would have done in a remote meeting. Use that time for deeper bonding, for breaking bread, for good bottles of wine together. We're in Indonesia, maybe it's just a lovely tea. But that interdependency and connection is still very valuable, but it needs to be engineered for what it's valuable for.
I think also from my experience, how the way I work has changed from having 160, 200 engineers. As long as I work remotely, in my experience, my transformation, my team is getting smaller in general. To have this kind of structures and have hierarchies, for example, becomes very, very complicated because you have even more people to coordinate different time zones, everything else. So what naturally happened to me is that my team has gotten smaller and smaller and smaller. So now I have a much smaller team that is my real core team. Of course, we have university teams outside. It's reducing the hierarchy because it makes it very, very hard. And generally, I don't like to call any kind of team meetings anymore. It's like the same as dinner. It's very hard to connect with 8 random people that have things going on in their life at the same time. I think what was so magic about our dinner that we had, it was, you and your partner, it was myself, coming together in one place, being fully focused and in the moment and connecting.
I would say.
So I do one-on-one meetings in 98%
I would
of the
challenge. I would challenge you to try a meeting just for the sake of bonding.
Okay.
So I would challenge you to pull your 6 people together and have everybody go around and have each of them say to each other, here's what's going on in my life personally that I'm struggling with. Here's what's going on in my life professionally that I'm struggling with. Doing that once a month.
Okay.
Where they all get to hear each other.
Yeah.
So that the interdependencies, one of the things that I have awakened to in my 20 years of research around high-performing teams, which is our specialty as a company, is that too many leaders put themselves too much at the middle of the work. You talked about the need to not be controlling and to disperse work. But that means that you as a leader have to spend more time making sure that the team sees each other as a team. And my point that I make is we spend too much time talking about leadership and not enough time talking about teamship. So part of what a leader needs to do in this new world is to spend time to make sure the team bonds together as a team. And that's really important. So what's really precious and exciting and what a blessing of today is that I get to be here with Julien, who for at least a decade, how long now have you been working in this fashion remotely?
Yes.
And the lessons that he's learned have been so extraordinary. So I'm looking forward to taking our research and your practical day-to-day lessons about how to live and work and build business and build impact in this world on a fully remote basis from anywhere in the world, right? So this is what I'm very excited about. Let me ask you a little bit about just the practicality of running a team and some of the benefits associated with it. Back in the United States, if I were having somebody running social media for me, that's at least an $85,000 person. And we get such arrogance in the West to think that in the West, these individuals are the individuals that should be leaders in our businesses. And we think about, at least from the West's perspective, we think about international associates like here in Indonesia or in India or in the Philippines, where we think about these places as places where we're going to hire individuals that are more functionary. And I remind people in the West, there are $100 billion companies in these countries and leaders that are just exceptional. The arrogance that we have to think you can't hire leaders, but on the other hand, the salaries, because living here in Bali is extraordinary. I mean, you can live here in Bali on literally 10% in luxury. You can live here at 10% the price in an American city. So maybe talk a little bit about practically about what you found in terms of your associates who are Western, your associates who are local, how that works.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a great question because we really come in the West. I was born in Germany, but moved to the US when I was 18. We often have this perception that especially as a German as well, right? This combination is hard because Germans, we think of ourselves being the only engineers in the world. The US is the only tech finance hub in the world. Because my background has been in providing power systems in Africa, India, I've been to Nigeria, so Eastern Europe. So my work, my mission to bring clean energy to rural villages has brought me out into the world. So you can't do that from a desk in Los Angeles. And also even a project like here in Bali, you need to be on the ground. You need to connect with people. You need to get things done. So I had to learn how to do this remotely. And there are smart, incredible people anywhere in the world. And I think the West will be up for a very rude awakening very soon. I see it in Germany already now. Indonesia is surpassing in the next 5 years probably the GDP of Germany. And a lot of that has to do is that we have young, eager populations out there willing to learn, adopt with new technologies, while we do sit on our high horse and think we just kind of invented the wheel. And I think remote work is an amazing opportunity because you can work from anywhere, you can reduce your cost, but it also means anyone can do your job.
From anywhere.
From anywhere.
That's one of the great things that I recognized, which is that here I am in Bali, and I had not considered previously Indonesia a source of talent for my organization. I have since opened a Philippine Center for Marketing at Ferrazzi Greenlight, my organization, and that's been very effective. But even then, I haven't fully, richly thought about how to tap in to the talent in these regions. This has opened me up. I have sat at dinner with some of the most extraordinary individuals who are local business people here in Bali. I have been here at the Alila Uluwatu and had the butler who is serving my villa here. One of the most insightful, clever, funny, Western speaking intellectuals that I've met. He's just a brilliant young man. And that talent is so ubiquitous in places outside of the West. I find that the arrogance of people who think that The only thing you outsource is small functionary tasks outside of the West is in fact going to be one of the things that bites the West in the ass.
And just think about China. I mean, I've done a tour with the Mayor Garcetti and the State Department through China, and everywhere we met, and they were proud. Eric Garcetti was very proud of the Clean Tech Campus in Los Angeles, which is about the size of the Alila, right? And then the mayor of Hong Kong in Shenzhen said, listen, you know, you guys invested 20 million, you're super proud, you did something right. I said, we're investing 20 billion and we're going to do it 100 times bigger than you. So don't underestimate the ambition and the global competitiveness of the future world. We're already there. We're not talking about the past. And if we don't really step up our game in the West and understand the potential of those markets, I think we really have a problem in the future.
Well, look, this has just been the tip of the iceberg. I know you and I will find ourselves on a couple of Zooms where we can regain this conversation and structure this conversation. I know we sort of pulled this off at the last minute because I'm vacationing here. But what I can say just in summary is for those of you who are listening in, this is the beginning of a journey. Follow us. Watch how we think about rejuvenating folks like myself. I'm your guinea pig, right? I'm the Westerner who takes that first flight to Bali and is awestruck. By the way, awestruck because I did it right. If you show up in Bali and you just stay at the hotels
as a tourist,
you will not recognize that this could be a future home for you, right? And by virtue of doing it well, by following my own rules from Never Eat Alone, I awakened it to what was actually here. I'm committed to coming back in August. I'm committing to coming back in December. I'm committing to spend at least 6 months here in 2025. And between now and then, I'm committed to working with folks like yourself to help design that pathway, taking the research that we've been doing and the experience that you have and bringing them together for folks like you. So, Julien, this has been extraordinary for me. Thank you so much for your time and your inspiration.
Thank you, Keith. Thank you, Keith, so much. I'm looking forward to the journey together. I said I had to learn the hard way, you know, how to make things work remotely, COVID, everything else, also losing my company. So I think it has been a very personal journey for me. You know that I feel very strongly about it. But I also do feel very deeply that this is an incredible time of opportunity, of change. I think the change of not having to live close to your office or your factory is the biggest change in the way we live since the beginning of the industrial age. So if we can communicate this message of people try out to get over their fears of not, you know, feeling like they're going to be irrelevant just because they moved to Bali. I don't know if you feel irrelevant here, but there's a life going on here. There's so much to experience, and it can improve your life so much. It can reduce your cost of living. I'm not saying everybody should come to Bali. I see it as a state of mind. There are many beautiful places building communities in the world, but build communities, connect to people, learn, and I think then the opportunities of this lifetime are going to be incredible. So I'm looking forward to this journey with you, Keith. It has been inspirational. Dave will come to Bali. We'll be seeing you back here very soon.
You will be seeing me here a lot. Yeah.
Awesome.